In this very last part of the basic CSS lecture, we are going to look into utilities versus components. But to do that, I'll just head over to Visual Studio Code, go back to the example we've seen previously. I have reconfigured the windows slightly so you can see that there are, you can see that we have this thing to the right, this web page, and then we have to the left, we have the code in HTML for it. I've also gone ahead and opened up the styles.css file, which is included, of course, in the downloaded documents that you have ready available for you. So with all that said, I think that most of the things are the same for you as they've been in the previous videos. The next step for me is just to untoggle this one. I'm doing that as I usually do. I hold Shift Alt A or Shift Option A if you're on a Mac. And then I hit Control S to save. I go ahead and I walk over to styles.css and I see everything is green. That is a bad sign. It's not really a bad sign. It's a sign that I have commented out everything that is available in this file, which means nothing will really happen. And as you can see, nothing has happened, even though I just commented this one out. Now we can see the styles are functioning. There are a connection between, but nothing in here is doing anything as of yet. So if I go in, I right click here and I go inspect, I get this window and I can zoom in on it. Just to get a clear picture of what's going on here, I'm going to zoom in. And as I've mentioned before, everything has CSS on it, even though you don't want to. And I can prove that by just, for example, I could select this, inspect just this specific part, and I get this thing called H3. And up there's a user agent styles. The user agent styles means the browser has put forth these styles and put them on my H3. Well, there are other styles as well. I mean, there are, of course, to see the text, it has to be black and all of these things. But these are just things that are so default that user agent doesn't have to put it in there. But these are user agent specific styles put to the web page. Okay. And I'm not going to remove all of it, but you can look at it slightly and you can say like, oh, there's a display block and there's a font size and there's a margin thing going for the start, end, the start, end. And what is this block start, block end, block inline start? Yeah, please look it up. It is perfect. It's something, it's not very new, but it's slightly new and it's a new way of doing, top, right, bottom, left. But instead we're thinking more logically regarding this. And it helps us with directions and specifically you change the language direction and so on and so forth. These take this into consideration. And then we have font weight. So these are things. Go to P, you got similar things. And you go to header, there are similar things. There's a lot of things usually need to put out there. So with that said, I think I'll go back to have this one in inspect mode so you can actually see it like this. And don't worry about this. You can have this on 100 or 200 or whatever you want. What suits you, suits me. The only reason I have it like this is for you to be able to see anything at all. Regarding that, I'm going to zoom in on this one slightly more. And let's go. What is this? Well, let's comment it out. I select everything from this line up to this line like this. So I get both this / with an asterisk behind and an asterisk with a / and then I hit the same command I hit on HTML for removing comments, which is Shift Alt A or Shift Option A if you're on a Mac, and it's removed. It's much smoother that way. Now everything here, except the images, of course, everything in here should look the same. Um, I cannot really deduce what is what anymore based on how it's styled. So what have I done? This is some kind of a basic reset. It's not really a full reset for in any shape or form, but it's suitable because there are things that you can understand in this that it's easy for you to comprehend. Um, you know how it works from the start. So first off, what is this? Well, that's the universal selector. If I hover it, I get some extra values like for it, and then I can see selector specificity, which you probably don't know what it is anymore right now, but in the future you will definitely need to know. And it will be part of the literature you read, and I will also discuss the importance of it in future videos. But for now, this is the universal selector, which means it selects everything. I can use it in other contexts, like I do it down here, but I'll get to that shortly. But right now it selects everything. It doesn't really, it's like selecting the whole thing. It's like holding Control A or Command A on a Mac and selecting everything. Like if I do this. But in this case, I've selected every element in this HTML page. And then I'm saying things about everything. That these things has to be true for all of those. We have background color, inherit. So inherit, if you, it's inheritance, arv in Swedish. It's when you, when one of your parents or parents' die, they leave inheritance. They are like leave things to you. Now, parents don't die in HTML. They're fortunate that way, but there's still an active inheritance always going on. You can inherit traits from the parent. So you can see it more like genetics. You inherit certain things. If the parent has dark hair, you'll get dark hair. Now I know the genetics is more, complex than that, but in this case it's not. It is basically I'm saying if my parent is transparent, I'm going to be that as well. If my parent is white, I'm going to be that as well. The background color is going to inherit whatever a parent has. And if the parent also inherits, it's going to get it from its parent. And in the inheritance block will go all the way back to the first parent, the major grandfather of them all, and that's the background color that will be used. If there are no background color there, it's just going to go to the default of having white. So font weight, family, font family. If you see this, I think you're familiar with fonts anyway. You're familiar. There are like things like Times New Roman, they are Arial, or they are like right now. Office has changed a lot to Aptos. Before they had Calibri as their main font family, but these are font families. There are a lot of them. And what I'm saying here is basically going to pick Arial, and Arial looks like this. You see here on the screen, and if there's of some reason the user who views this on their machine doesn't have Arial, they're going to use any sans serif. Any sans serif. What is a sans serif then? Sans serif is what Arial is. If I change this to Times New Roman, I'm going to do that. Like this. So yeah, whatever. I'm going to do it. You see, I'm not going to be able to zoom here, but I think you could do it yourself, and you see that the I, the L, and a lot of the letters get some kind of foot. They're like things growing out on the bottom of them. I can increase the size here so you can see. See, there's like this on the T. There's like this foot on the end. That's a serif. It's called a serif. So if I go back to Arial, and I keep this as 160 so we can view this. It has no foot. So serif means foot. Sans serif comes from French, and it's basically sans. In Spain, you say sin. What it means, it's not sin. It means without. So with foot, it just say that is serif. Without foot, that's sans serif. So it's that simple. And there's of course more font families than serif and sans serif, but you divide them up in more spaces than that. But that is a very, very basic step that you usually divide things in if they have a foot or don't have the foot. And in this case, I'm saying that, well, choose Arial. If you don't have Arial, choose any font, but please choose one that doesn't have a foot. Doesn't have a serif. So next thing up here is a font size 16 pixels. Well, I can remove it, and I'll prove to you that nothing is going to change. Yeah, of course, a lot of things changed, but that is because I did this on everything. That is just shitty thinking on my part. But you look at, I'll reverse that and I'll tell you what I expect to change. Now I'm changing everything, font size 16 pixels, so every darn thing is the same size. But I want you to instead view this differently. If I remove 16 pixels again, and I want you to look at something like a body text, simple text that isn't a header, a headline or anything like that, you see that's the same. So this text is explore a variety of enriching academic events, including guest lectures and so on and so forth. That is the same. It doesn't change. It's because the default font size on the web is 16 pixels. So that is the default font size. If you don't change that, that is what we're going to base things upon. Now, in this course, I do change that. I actually changed that to something called 10 pixels. And then I go even further and I discuss doing that differently and changing that to 62.5%. Because 62.5% is exactly, if you take 62.5% of 16 pixels, you get 10 pixels. So I'm using a relative value because so it's easier for users to change the size of the screen or the text, but still I also convert it to a much easier value to work with because 10 pixels is so much easier to work with than 16 pixels. It just is. I mean, try to add 16, or you just take the product of 16 times 17. I need to think about that. Of course, everyone can solve it with a little bit of thinking. Why would you need it? If I said 10 times 17, you would immediately say 170. So it's far easier, of course. Now let's go to font weight, normal. So it just says that if the browser now wanted to change everything, something to be bold, it won't be. It will just keep a normal weight. Will not be thin, will not be bold, it will just be normal. And then we have text decoration none. Well, there's a lot of text decoration. You could have text that is like they've stricken right through it. They have an underline or any many other kind of decorations you could put to text. What I've said, none of those. So, for example, if you look at links, they usually have a line underneath them. I removed that for everything right now. So if you don't have it, I've said, don't. I removed it anyway. So the universal selector basically removes it from everything anyway. List style type, none. Well, that is. Let me prove to you what's going on if I remove that. If I save, you can try that once as well if you want to. If I save that one, which I think I've done, I guess I should have a list somewhere. Yeah, maybe I don't. Yeah, no, I don't. Don't have a list. UL list item, there you go. And there's a list style type. For some reason, I'll go in here and I'll see where is this list. It should be. Sorry for the wait. It is here at the very top. It's there. It's in the navigation. So let's go into that navigation part and check why these things don't get listed as they usually do. We have text decoration none. It's suddenly it's the connection between this one and that one is lost. So let's go ahead and revive this connection. See what's going on. Okay, I see my error. There are multiple things happening here. Actually, this works. If I remove this one, you can't see it, but it's because they are hidden. They are hidden outside here because I've added a margin. I think it's a margin I'm adding there. Yeah, you can start to kind of see they're popping up, and then I'm going to change that to instead using padding, and I think that's going to show up. Yeah, that's the reason. So you can see there we have the dots. If I do not have the text decoration, which I'm going to text list style type, I said list style type and said none. If I do not have them, you will see these dots disappear. So let's get ahead and reverse all of that so we can get this back. Color inherit. You can see that that is just the same thing as background color. So whatever font color, this is color is talks about text color. You inherit it from your parent, and if the parent has no color, you go all the way up. Box sizing, border box. We've discussed it today. It has really significant value regarding how you calculate things. We did it already, and if I don't use that, things are going to be a bit more difficult to calculate. How many can be side to side. Now things get solved when you use CSS Grid and or Flexbox. You basically don't need it as much, but it's still a good practice to keep it that way because you use it for other purposes. Padding 0. Yeah, padding, you know what padding is. I've discussed it also. Border, none, margin, 0. So this should be pretty easy to understand. Now, if you don't believe me, I mean, if I just showed you that things do have padding just naturally and margin, the same thing. So you can try and remove them and you'll see what happens on your own. Now, to the next video, I will go on and try to go ahead and, unlock this part.